Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to another week, another edition here of the PondCast, episode number 68, your weekly wrap-up show here, your weekly talk show here of all things StarCraft. I'm, of course, VIP with you. I'm joined by the amazing people in the chat, and, of course, by Kuro handling the production as well. Welcome, one and all. It's been a pretty intense week of StarCraft when it comes to tournament results, but also when it comes to news as well. First things first, let's jump on in as we have a massive announcement for StarCraft, and that is the Chinese server. I mean, we already spoke about this previously, how there were rumors about said Chinese server returning, of course. We did hear that from SC Boy and crew, and now, of course, we have confirmation. We have confirmation here. We have a big announcement. We have a date posted as well. 28th of October is going to be the return of the Chinese server. Of course, if you recall, this is in lieu of the contract being renegotiated between NetEase and Blizzard. If you recall, for quite some time, that partnership was broken and did deteriorate. There are reasons for that, of course, and blame was being placed to certain members over at Blizzard when it comes to the breaking of that relationship. But that has been renegotiated, and now we are back on board. This is not just for StarCraft. I should emphasize that NetEase, I believe they're going to be organizing the distribution of Blizzard games all around China. So this also includes games like Overwatch, Diablo 4, Hearthstone, and of course StarCraft 2, World of Warcraft, all things Blizzard. So it's a pretty big contract, and the return of the Chinese server is pretty huge. It's pretty huge. It's a pretty big deal, especially considering the Chinese scene is honestly propping up StarCraft quite a bit, right? It was a massive blow when SC Boy had to step away, right? They were doing so much for StarCraft with Kung Fu Cup, with World Team League, with the events that they were hosting. Not just that, but the Chinese scene in general. We talk about it all the time whenever we go on a weekly basis. Whenever we go over the tournaments, whenever we go over the tournament structure, we always do have all these Chinese events, amateur Chinese events, pro Chinese events as well, team leagues, amateur team leagues, weekly tournaments. The amateur scene and the Chinese scene is still very vibrant, still very alive, despite the fact that there's no Chinese server, which is crazy. And it's a big part of StarCraft nowadays. A big part of that as well, also thanks to not just SC Void, but thanks to Oliveira, right? With Oliveira claiming the win and becoming the world champion, that did actually motivate so many Chinese players. It motivated a bunch of Chinese players to compete, to improve, to name change, and we saw a big rise of Chinese players as well post Oliveira win and post his world run as well, post that world run. So it's been really cool to see his rise, of course. Well, I should say it was really cool to see the rise of the Chinese scene around him with his retirement, and of course with the removal of the Chinese server. I mean, everything was looking quite dark, quite dim for Chinese StarCraft and for StarCraft as a whole. So really cool to see, of course, that we have confirmation, we have a confirmed date. Not just that, but there's also going to be a bit of a show match event happening on November 29th and November 30th. So it's going to be a 2-day event next month, end of next month, a month after the Chinese server goes live, and it is going to be featuring some retired players. Also, we kind of had confirmation Oliveira is going to be there, most likely. There were posts made on Discord, on Reddit, about Oliveira's account being active again. Everyone was like, whoa, Oliveira, he's living again, he's playing again. I think he had a stream. Yeah, I think there was a stream, and people did take note of that. Most likely, if he's streaming, it's probably because he's one of the invited players. Winding it back, the event that's going to be happening, that SC Boy is going to be hosting and organizing at the end of November, is said to feature some retired players. So, most likely, Oliveira is going to be one of them, alongside many others, I'm sure, alongside maybe AI, maybe Sulgua as well. Max said, I mean, again, there's a lot of Chinese players out there. A lot of them have been turning into casters in recent times, but I'm sure they're all going to be coming back. We don't yet know exactly who's going to be invited to that invitational, who's going to be a part of that event, outside of most likely Chinese players. They might reach out and fly over some Koreans. That's possible. That's just for some star power. But we can at least, assume that it's going to be full of old Chinese players. Again, specifically players like Oliveira, most likely, and alongside some others as well. So again, looking forward to it. I'm going to be looking forward to it here. Now, it isn't just about the return of the Chinese server. It isn't just about the announcement of a big event happening at the end of November, but also Kung Fu Cup. Kung Fu Cup was announced to be returning as well. Kung Fu Cup kind of came back as like a weekly tournament, and Kung Fu Cup has had its own iterations, at times being a proper league, a proper like invitational event with qualifiers, otherwise weekly tournaments. It's had different formats, it's had different iterations, so we don't really have full confirmation of what kind of state Kung Fu Cup is going to return in. We just know that it's coming back in some way. How exactly, yet to confirm. In a league format, in a weekly, it's probably not going to be a weekly. If it was a weekly, they wouldn't be hyping it up this much, to be honest. So it's probably not going to be a weekly. There's probably going to be a little bit more to it, so soon to be announced. There are some rumors abound as well that like, oh, is this a return of WTL? Everyone would love to see the return of World Team League, for sure. I don't know if that's going to be the case. I mean, the account that has been posting all of this is the WTL account. That is true, but this is like it's WTL. It's basically like the SC Boy account, to be honest. Like like they don't just post WTL. They do post Kung Fu Cup events and Stars War 11, and they do post general StarCraft Chinese news related to SC Boy. It isn't just World Team League. So I wouldn't take it that far. But the tweet that they made about the return of Kung Fu Cup did have the hashtag WTL. So that's sad. Do we read into that? You know, is that actually the return of World Team League? I feel if it was, they probably would have emphasized that, right? Like, they probably would have announced that. They would have said, hey, World Team League's coming back. There would have been a lot of hype behind that. So I'm still on the fence about whether or not World Team League is returning. I'm going to be skeptical about that. I feel like if it was going to be announced, they would have said it. If it was going to return, they would have said it, I should say. There's no reason to hold back on that sort of thing. So, yeah, I'm still very tentative on really confirming the return of anything like that. Like, we can at least say Kung Fu Cup, right? Kung Fu Cup is coming back, and of course, the Chinese server and that invitational tournament as well. So really cool. If you recall, we spoke about this last week, but the big news about this as well that will be impacting the international scene is that the Chinese server and the Chinese client is being worked on, right? There's a development team working on that version of the game, and it does seem like they are updating and adding to that version of the game as well. And the hope is that whatever changes they make, whatever improvements they make to the game, may cross over and may bleed over into the international version of StarCraft 2. That is the hope, at least. It wouldn't make much sense if both versions were different from each other, and they were significantly different from each other either, with improvements in one and not in the other. So the hope is that, hey, if they've hired developers, they're working on the server, they're working on the client, hopefully those changes, those improvements are also going to be applied to the global version. Fingers crossed on that one. That is the speculation. We don't have confirmation that that would happen, that the changes would cross through, but the hope is there. So again, good news abound in regards to StarCraft, at least the clients, at least over in China. And that leads us into some interviews made by the SC historian. This caught me a little bit off guard just because it's been a while. It's been a while since EWC, and looks like the StarCraft historian has finally released the hero interview. Now, if you recall, I was a little bit confused because I was like, didn't we already get this? There was, if you remember, already a losers interview that Cats did perform at the Esports World Cup, and I will say that more or less we kind of go over the same thing here. Hero, he expressed his disappointment in underperforming at the event. He said the same thing during the Cats interview as well. He spoke about how he had prepared. I mean, in the Cats interview, I would say it was a little bit more in depth. Here, he did emphasize how he had prepared a bunch of builds and he had prepared a bunch of styles, and he didn't really get to showcase that in his PvZ matches, in his PvZ series. So he felt very regretful of that, it feels like he had all this preparation planned and he didn't really get to showcase any of that. So he was very disappointed in his performance. That is accentuated here as well. Didn't go into as much detail, but yes, was very much so down. And yeah, definitely very heartbreaking to see Hero in said state about his tournament performance. He was asked some more general questions about grassroots StarCraft, about viewership as well. His responses were relatively brief, is what I will say, relatively brief. Again, it was a very short interview, only 5 minutes here, less than 5 minutes, because there was an intro and outro, like, so less than a 5-minute interview, so we didn't really get to hear too much from him, but really cool to hear from Hero nonetheless. It's always difficult to interview a player, after a loss in a major tournament like that. So props to SE Historian for being able to approach said players and doing so with tact as well, right? Of course, being aware of the situation, of the context of the overall event and the player's current state of mind. So shout out to the SE Historian for said interview, and of course shout out to Hero for his performance. Of course, since then, he has been still on that grind, still grinding, still improving, still competing. Of course, Hero has been, I would say, on the up and up in recent times, and we'll see where that leads us. But big shout out to Hero, big shout out to SE Historian.
Speaking of Hero, here's a quick little note for those interested in Hero's streaming. He actually did make a channel on Chiswick, so if anybody is watching on that platform, you may actually catch a Hero stream.
There you go. There you go. There you go. So over on Shijik, you might be able to find some Hero action. Meanwhile, that wasn't the only interview that was released here by the SC Historian. Because it's possible that he was like maybe working and editing the Rotterdam interview, and then he's like checked his backlog. He was like, "Oh, I didn't release this." It's possible that happened. By the way, it is possible because this was a Rotterdam interview from Home Story Cup, which of course was much more recently. But Home Story Cup is where SC Historian was able to get a couple of interviews. He was of course at the event, and he had a very lengthy interview here with Rotterdam, an hour-long interview here, and it was really cool just because, at least from me, we got to hear a little bit of Rotterdam's kind of like upbringing and his origin story, something that I hadn't really heard of before. To be fair, there might be some other older interviews out there with Rotterdam. I'm sure there are, but I'm not really quite aware of them. So yeah, it was really cool to hear Rotterdam. He was talking about his upbringing, how he got his ID Rotterdam as well. That wasn't his original ID, but eventually he did land on it. Talking about like his childhood hometown, talking about the support from his parents and getting into esports and getting into just gaming in general and competitive gaming, and how that was a bit of a novelty early on, but like he got into it. I think he had a story about how like he bought Warcraft 3 and he didn't enjoy it and he actually went to return it. He went to return it, but the problem was that they didn't have anything that he wanted to exchange for, nothing in stock. I think he wanted Unreal Tournament 2002, but they didn't have it. It was sold out, so he was like, I guess I'll stick with this. And then he enjoyed it. And he went back, he played it. I kind of glossed over it. I feel like we've heard this actually recently from Jumi, if you remember, where Jumi spoke about how like, he was playing StarCraft and stuff, but he really started to grind after, unfortunately, he was bedridden, right? Like, unfortunately, he fell unwell. I think he also had a bit of a skiing accident. It was like skiing or snowboarding where he had an accident and he was kind of like stuck at home for an extended period of time. And then he grinded the hell out of StarCraft and he got GM and he got really good. He mentioned that in his interview. Similar here, where Rotterdam, he was saying that he also had an accident. He also hurt himself. He was stuck at home and then he grinded not StarCraft 2, but in his day, Warcraft 3, and it got really good. So very similar stories here with Jimmy and Rotterdam, and I'm sure many others where, something kind of like forced him to stay at home. And I mean, we kind of heard that story as well, where they came to COVID, right, with a bunch of people staying at home, and a bunch of the next generation of players kind of, because they were stuck at home playing the game, being forced to kind of like invest a little bit more into their esport of choice, and as a result, improving and excelling and being able to make something of that as well. So yeah, again, it was really nice to hear from Rotterdam from, again, those early days. That kind of bled over into more current StarCraft as well, a little bit, in regards to, I mean, it was cool to hear his connection to Basilisk. Apparently, TLO, we didn't know this, but apparently TLO kind of introduced them. Apparently, the owners of Basilisk, they first approached TLO, and TLO directed them to Rotterdam. Then they had a conversation about StarCraft. This was as Basilisk that were trying to get into StarCraft and get into their esport of choice, and Rotterdam was kind of like a gateway for them, an avenue for them to get into it, and in the end Basilisk was formed, and they've had a really good relationship. He was talking a little bit about his relationship with Cyril and Raynor, more so than with Trigger, as they're a little bit closer because they're all from the European region. And yeah, it was really interesting to hear that insight that we don't often get to hear too much, I feel. It's possible that maybe he's like a little bit more expressive of this on his stream. So if you're a little bit more of a regular Rotterdam viewer on his stream, he does open up about this sort of thing. But I feel like we got a lot that we don't often get to hear from Rotterdam. So it was really cool, really insightful, and I do definitely recommend it to put on the background to listen on in. Again, hour-long interview, really cool. Again, I'm sure there's plenty more that they could have gotten into as well. This was in the middle of Home Story Cup. I think this was the end of day 3, so energy was low. And I'm sure they could have spoken for so much longer as well. But really cool to hear nonetheless. Really cool to hear from Rotterdam again about said upbringing, about current StarCraft, future of StarCraft, or RTS titles in general here. I think he's already said this in the past as well. He said here again how he's not really as committed or devoted to StarCraft itself as a game, but more so like the community around it, and that's what he values more so than the game itself. Is the community, is the players, is the people. And I think a lot can probably relate with that as well. Or can relate. There's one thing that he brought up which I found really interesting as well, I mean, this is something that we've all been critical of, and that is the quote unquote circuit that we had this year of EWC and how short it was. They spoke about how the problem with that is that ideally with a year-long series or a year-long circuit, you're able to follow players, you're able to build up their storylines, you're able to see them grow over the course of that year. But with everything being so congested, everything being so condensed, that's a better way of putting it, everything being so condensed, then you don't really have the time to like really build up that much. You don't really have the time to get as invested or as excited for certain players, and it all kind of builds up very quickly and ends very quickly as well. And that does also hurt viewership. It hurts interest in the game, at least in his opinion. I think we would all probably echo that sentiment and probably agree. And obviously, you know, the year of StarCraft wasn't really handled too well here. Ideally, right, coming into next year, if we do have StarCraft at EWC, we're able to have something a little bit more established and a little bit more of a lead up to said EWC. We didn't really get to talk about it, but of course, the first round of the Esports World Cup titles for next year have been announced. StarCraft is not confirmed for that yet, but I'm sure it will be eventually. Hopefully, it doesn't take as long to confirm, though. Fingers crossed. Aye. But yeah, shout out to the SC historian, shout out to Rotterdam for conducting said interview. Do recommend it. Do recommend checking it out. As that leads us into our next bit of news, that leads us into the StarCraft miniatures game. Of course, they were hosting their own kind of like initial preview, if you recall, in the event happening in, I think it was in Germany, if I recall correctly. But looks like we did have a bit of an interview here with the creators of said miniatures as well, and they actually went into a little bit more detail as to the promotional miniatures. It's really cool. They did have like a little construction like stream. I think Kura did mention previously that when it comes to the base game, that's most likely going to be pre-painted when it comes to like getting the base game. But I also heard that they might be selling the miniatures separately as well from just the board game. If so, you might have the opportunity to do this, to like construct and to paint everything yourself, which I feel like there's a lot of hobbyists that are very much so interested in that.
I think the miniatures will be just sold to put together yourself. I don't know about the terrain. Like the terrain itself may be painted, but the miniatures you will have to assemble.
Yeah. And so there's a nice video that was released featuring them like putting together and painting said miniatures. Again, like that's something that there's definitely like an audience for that sort of thing for sure. I mean, for both, right? Like there are people that really enjoy the game, and there are people that just commission other people to paint it, right? They just like send I know that for a lot of Warhammer 40k like professionals or competitors, they're like good at the game. Maybe they're not so adept at painting, so they often just like send out their miniatures and they commission someone else to like to paint them and to like, you know, get involved. So there's that side of things. There's others that are the opposite, right, where they get the game just to collect and they really just are interested in the painting and the aspect and the art form of it as well. I have my painted Marines. True. Marine even. I've got one. I remember going to Game Workshop one time with my cousin and we got like a nice little set of Marines to paint for the first time ourselves, just like as an introduction to them. So I've got like one Marine somewhere, looking beautiful. A lot of attention put to said Marine as well. Let's go. But God, no, I'll never get into that. It's just so I'd say it's so expensive getting into Warhammer miniatures nowadays. Like that sort of thing is a little bit more accessible. Like if you want to like bootleg it yourself, right, with 3D printing. There's other like custom. Like there's other companies out there that can like sell you these like custom miniatures at like a cheaper price, and you can like do it all yourself, sort of thing. So there's also that going on. So, but it's very much so very expensive to get into something like Warhammer.
Yeah. So I want to say that indeed it will add up quickly, but I will say that specifically like Archon makes their miniatures cheaper than the general like mainstream Warhammer. But I also want to say, important thing, that the Zeratul package includes 2 miniatures technically, because you have the one in solid plastic and you have the one in clear plastic. They said that they included both so you can make Zeratul cloaked. So that's already a nice bonus. But also this miniature specifically, this Zeratul, went on sale today and it will be on sale until the 26th, so only a few days. This is a special promotional one. So if you're interested in getting this one, you have only a few days to do so.
Yeah. So there's you have a couple of days here to get your own miniature Zeratul. I mean, I'm definitely tempted to step into that for sure as well. Of course, what I was talking about was mainly about Warhammer. When it comes to the StarCraft miniatures game, it's different just because for Warhammer they're releasing units all the time, and there's obviously different factions and different sets. Here it's just one set of units. It's one base game. I mean, it's possible they might release expansions in the future with different armies and different units. It's possible, depending on how well this performs, of course. But yeah, as Kira was saying, there is a promotional miniature of Zeratul that you can get yourselves. Honestly, it looks really sick. It looks really cool, and definitely something that, especially if you're a collector out there, especially if you're interested in miniatures, definitely worth looking into for sure before the main base game is released.
So one other thing I wanted to mention is that for those actually interested in the game itself, the article on Wargamer also includes some little details about the mechanics of the game. So if you are interested about how the game will be played, then I recommend reading that one as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. As with that, we are gonna that leads us into our next bit of news. That leads us into the WhiteRa's autobiography. I think we might have touched on this previously, otherwise we might have just been speaking about this internally. But oh no, yeah, of course. When we were discussing the WhiteRa's interview that he had, the text interview, where he spoke about his involvement in what was happening in Ukraine. But it was a really expansive interview with 2 different parts. One kind of focusing on of course on the esports side of things, and the other focusing on what's happening right now when it comes to getting aid to Ukraine and organizing his people there as well, and everything that's been happening recently. But it was really extensive, and it was really insightful as well. Like, I think it might have been my favorite interview conducted so far in regards to StarCraft. I do recommend it 100%. If you haven't heard that interview, I do recommend it. But during said interview, I believe he spoke about this. He spoke about how he was working on an autobiography, and he was taking the steps to get it published and to actually, piece it all together. Like this is something that he discussed in said interview, and now it's finally coming to fruition. Now finally, we do have a Kickstarter for said autobiography. Now apparently this is something that he's been working on for many years when it comes to writing and piecing all together. Again, WhiteRa's, he's a very old school pro player. I almost said StarCraft, but even before that, before StarCraft 2, of course, over in Brood War, he was a very active competitor as well. So again, he's got a lot to tell, a lot a lot of a story to really unfold, I should say, when it comes to WhiteRa's. So I do definitely recommend it. Again, I do recommend checking out the interview itself and supporting WhiteRa's and supporting this endeavor. I feel like he has a lot to share. For sure, he has a lot to say, a lot to share. Really cool to see him finally take the initiative to actually bring it all together. Like, finally, it's happening. It's been a long time coming, for sure. It's been a long time coming. So I do check it out. There is 38 more days to go in regards to bringing this all together, and in regards to funding the project, of course. I'll be backing it myself 100%. And yeah, you can check out the overall kind of, like, you can see there's like a little bit of a booklet snippet in regards to Korea and his time there, of course. And there's kind of more details as to the timeline of when this will be released. Apparently the book release is scheduled for January/March of 2026, so early next year. Honestly, not too far away. Honestly, not too far away at all. So yeah, do recommend supporting WhiteRa's. Again, he's a great guy. He's a historic player, historic member of the scene of StarCraft and of esports in general as well. So much love to WhiteRa's, and yeah, for sure, definitely a person willing that is deserving to be supported, for sure. So we'll definitely be doing that ourselves. definitely stepping in. The last bit of news here for the week is going to be Crank. Now we spoke a little bit about WTL, about the return of WTL, and how it's merely rumors. And there's nothing really concrete to really confirm whether or not it would be returning. But something that is happening next week, I believe, that is happening right around the corner is there is a Team League event, a little bit smaller, a little bit shorter, but it is sponsored by Chijik, Crank with Pro Teams. The Crank Gathers Season 2 Pro Team Edition is going to be held next week. Here we go. So this is going to be basically an invitational Team League tournament, an invitational team tournament featuring who? Featuring Basilisk, Shopify Rebellion, Streamer Zone, Team Falcons, Team Liquid, and Team Vitality. So again, it is going to be a week-long event, so it's going to be quite a lot of games, quite a lot of matches, a week's worth of StarCraft. Because this event is sponsored and funded by Chijik, this means that just like with the Lima League, live casting is limited to the Chijik platform. Technically, we could cast this live. We do have a Chijik account, but the reality is that we wouldn't get a lot of viewership. Like, if you recall, we used to cast a Lima League live, and viewership was very, very low. And it was a little bit disheartening whenever we would cast it live. We would end the event, and then say Wardy would go live a little bit later, a couple of hours later, with replays on Twitch, and he'd get all the viewership for that, basically. And it was, and obviously we're not going to cast it again. We just casted it. So after a time, we basically started doing the same thing. We basically started, instead of casting it live, we're like, you know what? We'll just do a replay cast on Twitch and YouTube. We'll get more eyes on it. We'll get more viewership on it. Like, we're hurting ourselves casting it live because it's just not worth it. So we are going to be doing the same thing here, where we will be casting it via replays. We'll be casting it via replays here on Twitch and on YouTube. Again, the other option would be to like cast it live on Chijik and then like download the VOD and like rebroadcast it, I suppose. But it's just like we'll just do replays. It's fine. So we'll be doing a replay cast alongside this. Really cool map pool, of course. It is going to be what looks to be a combination of TLMC 21 maps and standard ladder maps. My apologies. Purely TLMC 21 maps. Okay, so the map pool is going to be 10,000 feet, Andromeda, Dream and Scars, Mothership, Old Republic, Ruby Rock, and Tourmaline. What I find really interesting about this map pool, I wonder who made it, because Dream and Scars did not make it to the top 21 to the top 16 of TLMC. Like, it did not make it there. It did not make it to the top 16. But I did rate it quite highly. I do recall, like, it's a really unique map. How did it get here? Like, whoever placed this as a part of the map pool was aware of the overall greater like maps that were submitted to the Team Liquid map contest. So I wonder if they had someone advise them, or again, if whoever created this was a little bit more involved. Really cool to see. So again, really fun, really unique map pool is going to be made use of. And of course, we have all the top teams as well. Of course, there are going to be some players that won't be a part of this event because they're not a part of one of these teams, of course. Just bear that in mind. So for Basilisk, we have Raynor, Roddy, Cyril, and Trigger. For Shopify, we have Björn, Harsum, Lambo, and Scarlet. For Streamer Zone, the biggest team, we have Baby Marine, Geralt, Jumi, Lunacy, Nightmare, Quanta, and SOS. Interesting that they have Quanta in said lineup. For Team Falcons, we have Bunny, Rogue, and Solar. Team Liquid, we have Clem, Cure, Mana, and Skillus, bearing in mind that Laser did recently leave the team. And for Team Vitality, we have Crank, Maru, Ryung, and Zaun. So we have our 6 teams. We have our 6 teams. This event is going to begin in 3 days' time over on the 27th of October. When it comes to our replay coverage, when it comes to the format, Team League, yes, it's going to be a Team League matchup. I believe it is going to be, they're going to be featuring their lineups, and they're going to be facing off in best of ones. This is not going to be all kill format. So no all kill formats, none of that. Here it is going to be instead that more quote-unquote like WTL-ish style format. I say ish, these are not best of 2s either, these are best of 1s. WTL, they of course had the unique format of best of 2s, which I do think is really fun, but that won't be the case here. These are going to be best of 1s. More Pro League style formats, which I appreciate. It's been a while, you know, we all love Pro League. So really cool to see that coming into play once again. Here we go. So we do have the basically best of fives here between these matches. And again, it's going to be a week-long event. A week-long event. We have the preliminary stage first, then into the group stage, followed by the playoff brackets. When it comes to our coverage via replays, we'll most likely be casting these matches 24 hours after the fact, around that or so. It's going to be a little bit difficult. So again, this is going to be beginning on the 27th, and I believe that is going to be clashing, or that's going to be bleeding into the RSL Season 3 European qualifiers, which we are going to be casting live, most likely. And that evening, we have WTV Monday. Mm-hmm.
I would like to correct that the first day of the event is actually the 26th, so the Sunday, which is like right after Sparking Tunaka.
Yeah. That's what I was getting at, because it's midnight. At least for me, it's midnight coming into 27th. So that's why it leads into the 27th event, which is the RSL qualifier. And that evening we have the Wardy TV Monday number 57. So because of that, we don't really have time to cover those replays that day. So most likely the next day is when we're going to be covering said replays. So around 24 hours later. I guess less than 24 hours later, after the fact, is when we're going to be covering those matches. So throughout the entire week, so next week, starting next week, every single day, we'll have some of that Team League action. So you can check it out here. I believe Wardy is also going to be casting some of those matches as well via replays. So it's going to be ourselves, Wardy, and I'm sure some of the other content creators as well. I know that Rotterdam is also going to be casting, because his team is competing. He might only be covering the Basilisk matches. So Roddy, he might be a little bit more biased there, might only cover the Basilisk matches instead, but regardless is going to be a part of that. So really cool to see Team League tournaments returning in some way, shape, or form. Really sick, really cool. That leads us into our main events. That's going to be all of the news that we're going to be covering this week. But again, a big shout out to Crank once again. Sorry, I didn't really get to discuss it, but it's really cool to see that Shijik, they're sponsoring more StarCraft events. It's a big event as well, by the way. Showing that they've been quite happy with their performances so far. If you remember, I was hoping that they would continue Alima League, like, at least in my opinion. I felt like Alima League was really successful for them. Crank was getting a lot of viewership on that platform as well. So it felt really successful. It was kind of weird that they didn't renew for another season. Maybe they will at the end of the year, but they've still been organizing other events, right? Like the Murloc King Cup. That's an SC Evo tournament that they have been hosting on an annual basis. Here they come back with a Team League tournament as well. So clearly they're willing to sponsor and willing to support StarCraft and work with Crank. But it looks like they're like kind of exploring options when it comes to the format. Alima League was more of a weekly tournament. Here we have like a big fancy invitational. The Chijik, the Murloc King event was SC Evo, and they might just be feeling out like what is worth it, what is more worth it, what is less worth it, what provides more viewership, what is more sustainable, what has more longevity as well. So yeah, it's cool to see that they're exploring options, exploring formats, supporting StarCraft, supporting Crank, and yeah, we'll see where this leads us, and if it leads into more support and more events and more StarCraft from the Chijik platform. Do hope so. So good news on the horizon. That leads us into our main events, into the tournament results for the week. Up first, we have Prome's Evo number 2. Prome, of course, is a Korean Protoss player that does invest quite a lot of time in SC Evo, but looks like he has been running his own tournaments here on a semi-regular basis. Here we did have an invitational. It is going to be an invitational here featuring these 4 players. We have Classic, Byun, Ryung, and Solar. So we have our top 4 invitational single elimination brackets. Classic takes down Byun 3-1, Solar takes down Ryung 3-1, and Solar takes down Classic 4-2. If you remember, we spoke about this last time, but Solar, he did surprisingly well in the Murloc King tournament, and it looks like Solar, he is one of the newest players to be brought into SC Evo, where he's kind of been it's got his attention, and now he's been more and more active in StarCraft Evolution and has been performing quite well. For him to defeat Classic and Ryung, very impressive here, very impressive. I would say that currently Classic is the best player in StarCraft Evolution, 100%. So for Solar to bring him down in such fashion is impressive, is very impressive here, bearing in mind that I believe they're still in the works of a new patch for SC Evolution, just because of the latest version of StarCraft 2, so the meta is still a little bit in flux, maybe not the most balanced of things at the moment. So StarCraft Evolution is looking a little bit shaky for the time being until they're able to stabilize and come out with a new patch just to try to address the drastic changes in StarCraft 2. But regardless, congratulations to Solar and a shout out to Prone for hosting a new tournament. Really cool. Again, semi-regular. That leads us into the 5.4K patch class number 6. Once again, Patches does return. Despite the fact that we have released a new version of the game, Patches is still organizing these events with his own patch, with his own mod. So it's really cool to see that he's still, despite the new patch hitting in StarCraft 2, he is still undeterred from hosting and organizing these events and from running his own tournaments and publishing his own mod as well. So here we had Inexorable, not the first time, by the way. Like, he's been quite dominant in these mod tournaments. Inexorable, he takes down Mixu 2-0 and takes down Mixu 3-1 as well in the grand finals. Bearing in mind this was Mixu off-racing as Protoss. Reminder, this tournament is restricted to those that are 5.4K and below. That is why Mixu is not playing his main race. That's why he's playing his off-race. So Inexorable does claim the win. GG, congratulations here to Inexorable for becoming our champion. And again, shout out to Patches for hosting this unique mod. Again, if you want to check out the Wikipedia page, there is a link to the entirety of the changes that are added to this mod, and there's a lot. There's a lot of changes. Too much to really get into. Like, it's pretty drastic. It's pretty intense. It's pretty extreme is what I will say. It's a pretty extreme mod, not the most balanced. I think he's even said so himself, where it's like it's a little bit more like to test things out and a little bit more for fun. It's kind of crazy, but it's meant to be crazy. So yeah, it's just really cool to see Patches like take the initiative, do something wild like this and run it on a regular basis. Really cool. GG, well played. Congratulations to Inexorable. That leads us into our amateur events. We have the Amateur League Weekly Tournament number 141. This is a weekly tournament that is restricted to different leagues, of course, to different MMR ranges. First, we have the Initiate Weekly for Bronze to Platinum, and here we did have Rogue, a player that I've not seen before, to be honest. Rogue, a Zerg player, takes down Coral Viper, takes down Jackals, and takes down Jackals in the rematch. Doesn't drop a single map. Congratulations here to Rogue for winning the initial Initiate tournament. Very well done, very well played. Up next, we have the Veteran Edition for those that are between the leagues of Diamond 3 and Diamond 2. Here we do have Smite Steel UA, another player that I've not seen before. There's some other regulars like Bobson, Balimko, Sugar Cult II as well, some players that I am familiar with, Lauren as well. But Smite Steel UA does claim the win. Did drop some maps though in the process, did drop maps to Bobson in the upper bracket finals and in the grand finals as well. So there were times here where he did bleed, Bobson did pose a threat, but in the end Smite Steel did claim the win. GG. GG, well played, congratulations. That leads us into the Prestige tournament. This is for those are between the leagues of Diamond 1 and Masters 2. Here we have more of our regulars. This is typically one of the more populated tournaments, but not as much this time. Once again, double elimination. Here we have Steez. Steez takes down Anatar 2-1. Steez, he does fall to Brunet's Mist. Brunet's Mist 2-1. So big win here for Brunet Mist. And he takes down Set 3-2 in the grand finals. Very impressive. I'll be honest, I haven't noticed this ID before, Brunet Mist. He did drop a lot of maps. I say drop a lot of maps. He went to the ace match almost every series. He went to the ace match against Set in the quarterfinals. He went to the ace match against Hirich in the semis. He went to the ace match against Steez in the upper bracket finals, and went to the ace match against Set in the grand finals as well. So a very competitive tournament here. A lot of players that did pose a threat, that did stand their ground against the overall champion. But in the end, congratulations to Brunet Mist for claiming the win. GG. GG, well played. A hard-fought win there for Brunet Mist. Congratulations, that leads us into the Elite Tournament, and unfortunately, we did have a walkover here. Once again, to reiterate, this Elite Tournament, this Elite version of the Weekly, is for M1 to GM players. Unfortunately, I should have started with this, these Weeklies don't provide any prize money or prize pool. There's no prize pool, so pro players often do avoid this. They often don't really compete in these tournaments. That's why you can see Azura wins via walkover. So it is a little bit unfortunate here that there was a walkover. Again, the pro players are just not very interested. These weeklies, they provide points, and that leads into a tournament that does have prize money. But it's a lot of investment and I guess not much. I guess it isn't. Or I guess a lot of pro players don't really find it too worth it, unfortunately. Every now and then you have someone like Azura or someone like Inexorable signing up. And I do hope that in the future, like, we get more interest in the GM versions of this event. Do hope so. That leads us into our tournament. This is a monthly tournament for those between the leagues of Bronze and Masters, up to 4.7k MMR, basically M2, like around Masters 2, bordering Masters 1. We have our monthly Masters 1 Open, TLMC 21 edition. This was our last tournament to feature, one of our last tournaments, to feature a full map pool of TLMC 21 maps. We did our best for the past month to host as many tournaments as we could on new maps. We did our part, at least. I can say that with pride. Did our part, as voting has already closed. Voting has already closed for the Team Liquid map contest. Bear that in mind. And we did feature Andromeda, Celestial Enclave, Missing You Today, Mothership, Risen Memory, Title Citadel, Talisman, White Rabbit, and Winter Madness. So we had our 9 map pool. Here we did have DeWalt. We had a pretty intense tournament here. DeWalt did take down Sugar Cult, took down Set, and DeWalt went up against Beast in the grand finals. And Beast always fated to be the bridesmaid and never the bride. Feels bad, man. How many second places has Beast gotten? I don't know if Kura has that on hand, but Beast, I believe, has never won an MSO, but has gotten a bunch of second places.
Hold on, I'm opening the spreadsheet.
So, just checking here, Beast came second in MSO number 90, in 91, in 92, in 95, and now 97, 5. So 5 in total, with 97, 5. Of course, being the 5th one. So 5 second places and not a single first, unfortunately. I mean, Beast has gone up against a plethora of players. Has gone up against Noguri, Dizzy Dwarf, DeWalt again, Dizzy Dwarf again. So not like it's the same player knocking him down, but 5 second places. I feel like we can title Beast a Kong at this point. Like, Jesus, he's our newest Kong. Like, historically, if you remember, Kongs have been Zerg players. We've had a lot of Zerg Kongs in our tournaments specifically. This might be the first Protoss Kong that we've had in MSO and SDO. There you go. We'll have to figure out the math on that one. But 5 second places. It's a lot of second places. That's so shout out to Beast for claiming another second place. I know that he would want to achieve greater heights here, but he's doing well for himself, right? Like, he went all the way to the ace match. It was a close finals. He did not look bad at all. Unfortunately, he did end up falling to DeWalt, but there's a world out there where it could have easily gone his way as well. GG, well played. As that does lead us into the next event. Oh, of course, this event, of course, is a monthly tournament. Every single month we do host the MSO. So if you happen to be 4.7k and below in your MMR, then consider playing. Consider taking part. Consider playing. Again, it's a really fun event, and it's definitely a way to kind of give you some motivation to compete and to improve and to play against some of these other players. There you go. GG will play. That leads us into the chat. Star League at number 41, another MMR restricted tournament. I believe also 4.3, 4.3k MM, sorry, 5.3, I meant to say, 5.3k MMR. So that's low GM for this tournament. And here we did have some NA representation. I see Beast there as well. Beast got knocked out a little bit early. We had Patches competing. We had Meowradoom as well. Meowradoom, really cool to see him still competing as well. Meowradoom, he is not the most active player anymore. He used to play in all the Open Cups, all the NA Open Cups specifically. Used to compete in the NA Apprentice tournaments, in ESL Open Cup Americas as well. Meowdoom has been less active as of late, so really cool to see him popping up. Takes down Patches 3-2, takes down Phoenend 3-2 as well to become our champion. Congratulations to Meowdoom, a hard-fought win for our American Zerg. GG, well played. Really cool to see him still competing, of course. That leads us into our regional events and show matches. Okay. Up first, we have the 3D Clan. The 3D Clan community QB's challenge number 2. Here we go. This was, I'm sure, organized by QB. This was a double elimination bracket, double elimination, of course, for the CIS region. Plenty of players, plenty of competitors, some from Russia, some from Ukraine. Here we had Young Yakov. Young Yakov takes on Shameless 3-1, Deathmars 3-1, Strange 3-2. Big win. Like, I do put a lot of weight behind Strange. Strange has been a beast as of late. For good and for bad. Strange has been an animal. And Strange, hey, he was the player that knocked out Nickrat. He 2-0'd Nickrat in the bottom lower bracket finals, but he falls to Young Yakov in the rematch 3-0. Very impressive results here from Young Yakov. He takes down some big Protoss names. He avoids Nickrat, but we'll get to that later. I did mention this earlier today, actually, because we were casting him earlier today, but in my opinion, Young Yakov at this point, he has exceeded Wayne. Wayne, I would say he's what, top 5, top 4 Zerg player in Europe. Wayne is a very strong player, at least he was, but specifically this year, Wayne has been very inactive. He's been very inactive. We still see him every now and then, like in a Firegrow Cup, right? In a Firegrow Cup, or in a Sunny Lake Cup, or in a Waterfall Cup, or like, or like I'm in the vacay tournament. We still see him every now and then, and sometimes he shows up for like a Tuna Cup. True, but it's very sporadic, and it feels like Wayne for the most part. He's like stepping away a little bit from StarCraft. He's still playing every now and then, but it's not. It doesn't really take up as much of his time as it used to, right? It's not really his main focus like it used to be either. Maybe he's going back to school. Maybe he's spending time doing other things, of course. But he has been dedicating less time to StarCraft. And in Wayne's absence, we've seen the rise of Young Yakov. We have seen that rise, and congratulations, as Young Yakov does claim the win at 3-0 over Strange. Very impressive. That leads us into, hey, we just spoke about it, the Waterfall Cup, and hey, there he is. Wayne, he did sign up for this event. As we mentioned, every now and then when MinoVK hosts an event, Wayne does show up. He does show up. Here, Wayne, he goes down to GG Machine at 2-0. Joe, whoa, hold on. GG Machine, he took down Nikita. Nikita competed as well. GG Machine takes down Skillus, takes down Wayne, does fall to Young Yakov, and then Wayne brings it all the way back. Wayne takes down Shameless 2-0 in the lower bracket, takes down GG Machine 2-0, and then he has an intense back and forth against Young Yakov. You can see here how close these matches were. Initially, Wayne wins 3-2 against Young Yakov, and then in the second series, he wins 2-1. Went all the way to the ace hatch. Wayne does bring him down here, but again, I just want to see more Wayne, because as I mentioned, it's really rare to see him. When MinoVK hosts a tournament like this, Wayne, I feel like he probably DMs him or like sends him a text message. He's like, "Yo, I'm running a tournament, sign up," and Wayne shows up. It would be nice if we got to see more of Wayne nowadays. In general, Zerg players, it'd be nice. I say that here we had pure ZVZs. Interesting. I mean, GG Machine has also been improving a lot. I would say that coming into this tournament, in my mind, Skillus was the favorite player, right? Nikita, we expect great things from Nikita, but he got knocked out early by the next generation, by the Zoomers. He got taken out by the teenagers, Pat. GG Machine, he's like 16 years old. He went down to GG Machine. If you look at Nikita in the lower bracket, he goes down to Shameless. He's like 19 at this point, 18, 19 years old. Literally went down to teenagers. Gopo, do you feel your bones creaking? Do you? Oh no. Much love to Nikita, man. Much love, but yeah, the Zoomers took him out.
You know what really makes my bones creak? Is calling Skillus old. Because in my mind, Skillus is also a kid.
He is also quite young. He's relatively young. It's true. But I mean, compared to GG Machine and Shameless, like he's an old man. He's oh no. But it bodes well. It bodes well, right? Like the region here does have a lot of like younger up and comers, like GG Machine, like Shameless, like Minizerg. True, Minizerg is another really young player. Ashbringer was also younger as well. Nowadays I think he's like 22 or something, right? Like, oh, he's an old man now. He's I could be thinking of Exo Striker. He's the other one. Exo Striker was also one of the younger players. Yeah, it's just like Ashbringer is 27. Yo, I remember when he was a young boy. 27 years old. There's another as well. It's one of the younger players out here, but yeah, really cool to see. Really cool to see both GG Machine as well as Shameless performing well here. But in the end, Wayne and Yang Yakov and GG Machine do outperform, and Wayne claims the win here in the very first edition of Waterfall Cup. What are we missing? I think the last time we covered this, someone in the chat was like, "Yo, now we need like something from Earth. Like we have Fire Girl Cup, which is fire. We got Waterfall Cup. We got Sunny Lake Cup. We need like, what are we missing? What are we? Oh no.
The nice
like,
stone cup. I don't know.
I thought you were gonna go like Darude Sandstorm Cup or something.
Yes.
We need the Sandstorm Cup. Yes, let's go. Let's go. The Sandstorm Bonanza. As as that leads us into our weekly tournament for the Japanese region, a Legacy Weekly Japan number 476. Where is my Tapioca? Oh, for the first time in a long time, I see Tapioca, by the way, takes down Crimson. Tapioca does not claim the win here. It's been a while since we've seen someone bring him down. Vaishravanya gets his revenge. GG, well played. Tapioca has been the dominant force in the Japanese region for the past couple of months at this point, taking down some big names, and it has been very rare to see Tapioca brought to his knees. But this week, Vaishravanya does claim the 2-0. Very impressive. GG, well played. A big win here for Vaishravanya. Whether this is a one-off or whether this becomes a regular event, whether Vaishravanya is actually actively laddering, improving, and studying his opponents, we'll see. We'll see if this becomes the beginning of a rivalry. Let's go. So congratulations here to Vaishravanya for taking down Tapioca 2-0. GG, well played. That leads into Sunrise Cup. Sunrise Cup number 218. If you recall, we spoke about this previously when discussing the Chinese server, how the Chinese region has been very active and has been very vibrant, of course. And this is part of that. Of course, we have the regular weekly for the Chinese region, full of more amateur players, except for Nanami Chiaki. Nanami Chiaki does claim the win. I would say that Nanami Chiaki comes in as the favorite player for sure. I believe is up against Suniko in the finals. Let me just double check here. Sorry, no, that's Nanyu. God, every time. Does go up against Nanyu in the finals, and they go all the way to the ace match. Really cool. Nanyu is another one of those rising stars. We have been seeing a lot of really good results out of Nanyu in recent months, and I still would favor Nanami, but to see them go to the ace match, really cool to see. Again, Nanami Chiaki and Nanyu, they're like the next, like, quote unquote, like, generation of Chinese players here. You know, this is like after the generation of Oriana. Sorry, not Oriana. Who am I thinking of? Of Rewhites, of Jolowa Loves, of Young Zest, of like all the SLT boys, of that kind of set of players. After that, we now have players like Nanami Chiaki, like Suniko, like Nanyu as well. And there's another that's like kind of like slipping my mind. There's a Terran player as well that has like a Chinese character name that also does quite well. So really cool to see. Really cool to see. Shout out to Nanami. Does claim the win. That leads us into the Elpis Team League 2025 full Code A. This is another Chinese team league, an amateur Chinese team league, as this is going to be Code A, of course. We are still in the round robin stage of Code A. And here we go. When it comes to, we just wrapped up with round 4. Rookie Warpgate, they get the walkover win in their series. A little bit unfortunate. Ideally, we did want them to play that match out. Up next, we have Starlight Twinkle, SLT, their second division, their second team. Of course, Xingming does lead the charge here. Actually did tie up 1-1 against his opponent, against Hist and Toss. We get the 2 win, and then we get the 2-0 as well. So 5-1 overall scoreline for Starlight Twinkle. Very well done. That leads us into PTB versus Rookie Warpgate. And coming into this, I would typically favor Rookie Warpgate here. Pioneer, in my mind, is you know, pretty high caliber player. Pioneer does win his series 2-0, but it's a team league. It's a team league. It's not 1v1. So despite Pioneer claiming his win, the rest of his team does struggle. We have Ivy taking down Glorium, and we have Trap taking down Joseph. So congratulations to Team PTB. Protoss the best, as they're a pure Protoss team. They're the best. They are the best. GG, well played. And again, we're still only 4 rounds in. It's going to be 7 rounds in total before the playoffs. So congratulations. And we still have plenty more weeks to come to confirm our top teams for Code A. That leads us into the Elpis Team League 2025 Fall Code S regular season. Leads us into the Code S. This is where the big names, the pro players, do face off. We just wrapped up with round 4. Here we had Starlight Twinkle versus PCEC. Coming into this, we had an intense back and forth. I still would have favored Starlight Twinkle, but PCEC, they held their own. They held their own here. Up first, we had Joloa Loves. Joloa Loves did go up against his opponent in the first round. They did tie up 1-1. Just trying to double check here if we do recognize the name of our opponent. That's the Terran player that I was talking about. I was like, there's another Terran player that has Chinese characters that has also been on the rise. That's Millennium Fox. Again, a very young player. He's 19. He's 19 years old, and he's also been getting some really good results in the weekly tournaments, in the weekly Open Cups. And hey, for him to tie up against Joloa, very impressive, as Joloa was one of the more older established players. So impressive play there by Millennium Fox. Meanwhile, we have Triple H. Triple H goes up against Zan Nanyu. Double checking, and God damn it. Yes, there you go. I recognize the names. We have Triple H going up against Nanyu as well. I didn't realize, but Nanyu as well as Millennium Fox are on the same team. They're both on PCEC, but they do tie up 1-1 as well. We have Young Zest versus Mixu also tied up 1-1, and that leads us into the ace match. Mixu is the ace player for PCEC, so I do not blame them for fielding Mixu. And Rewhite stepped in as the ace player. Rewhite, who didn't actually play in the regular initial matchups here, but this is the roster of Starlight Twinkle. There's reason why I would say that they are one of the favorite, if not the favorite team in the entire league. Then we got Joloa, Triple H, Young Zest, and Rewhite. Really powerful Protoss team. Really strong, really solid, and they do claim the win 4-3 over PCEC. I'm very impressed though that PCEC forced them to the ace match. Very impressive play by both Nanyu and by Millennium Fox to help support Mixu. It's one of those things where I'm always concerned whenever there's a team like this that has a star player, looking at Little Fairy, for example, where Mixu, he's the ace, for example, he's the mercenary that they did bring into the team for this league, and the other players can sometimes have a hard time keeping up, but no, here, it was a team effort. Didn't quite claim the win, but did pose a threat to Starlight Twinkle. Impressive play. Up next, that leads us into Astartes versus Little Fairy. This is one of the matches I mentioned, and no Shameless this week. Shameless is the ace player for Little Fairy, but Shameless was not fielded. Here we had Johnny versus Ear. They tied up 1-1. We had Ghost Runner versus his opponents. Did go 2-0 in favor of Ghost Runner. We had Halev up against Black, did go 2-0 in favor of Halev, and then we had the ace match. Ghost Runner did step in as the ace player, does claim the win over his opponents. A player that I'm not familiar with. Let me just double check. Yeah, a player that I'm not very familiar with here. Player for starters. Yeah, apparently Lin. So congratulations to Ghost Runner for claiming the win for Team Little Fairy, claiming the win even without their star player, even without Shameless. GG. That leads us into Elpis versus Team Hist. Here a little bit more heavily in favor of Elpis. We had a Miggy versus Kingslayer. I would say that Kingslayer is probably the strongest player on Team Hist. He's very impressive, has been on the rise. But Kingslayer does take the 2-0. That leads us into Number versus his opponent in the second round. Oh, that's Nami. That's Nami Shiaki. Nami Shiaki does claim the win, of course. Of course he does. And Nami does take the win, 2-0 over a Number. And then we had Lemon getting a walkover over his opponent. Elpis is another one of those stronger teams. They have Lemon and they have Nanami as well. So they have a pretty solid duo in their lineup. They do claim the win over Hist. GG. That leads into Team Toho Project. Toho Project against Kauda. Ghost gets a walkover in the first round. Unfortunate that there's a walkover here, but Ghost does claim the win. Daydreamer takes down Turn. Winter and his opponent tie up 1-1, and then we have the ace match with two players that I have no idea who they are. We have Kin going up against Dole. Okay, yeah, two players I'm not very familiar with here, unfortunately. I haven't really seen much of them, but Kin does take the win for Kauda in that ace match. GG, well played.
I want to say I've heard the name Doll as an admin in one of the
yes.
events.
Yes, there's a SE Boy have an admin called Doll. I don't know if that's the same Doll. But so I can't say for certainty whether that is the case or not. That might be him. It says here that he's a caster. Maybe. He does do some casting. But with that, congratulations here as our players do wrap up for round 4. And again, we still have 3 more rounds ahead of us, round 5, 6, and 7. When it comes to the overall standings, Starlight Twinkle are still undefeated, but they came close. They came close to going down, and the other teams are still not too far behind them with Little Fairy, Elpis, and PCEC. And of course, the other teams still have their opportunities to recover as well. So GG, well played. That leads us into the Inu Battles. Inu Battles number 13. This is a very sporadic show match series. The last Inu Battles was, I think, back in April. Let me just double check. Sorry, back in May. So it's been 5 months. It's been over 5 months since the last Inu Battles. This is one of those show matches where I keep wanting to cast it live. I keep wanting to like reach out, but because it's so sporadic, they just happen so randomly that like I can never catch them. God damn it. There's like very little heads up and very little like foreshadowing of the Inu Battles. They just have it's like bam, it's like oh, then they disappear into the night. So 5 months since the last Inu Battles, but here we had Björn versus Zan went all the way to the ace match. Of course, this was a couple of days ago. Only 3 days ago, Björn did take down Zan 4-3. Big win here for Björn. Congratulations. But really impressive to see this go all the way to the ace match. Zan is one of those players that is very inactive. Like Zan, he doesn't play in Open Cups. He doesn't play in like the Wardy TV Mondays or the Pixar Cups or even KSL. Like Zan, he's very sporadic when it comes to when he shows up and when he signs up for the open tournaments. So it's always really hard to judge his current skill and his current place amongst the rest of the players, especially post EWC, where there are players that are taking breaks, like Cure. Like Cure, for example, he does take a big break. He has taken some time off outside of being invited to the most recent TLMC tournaments. So yeah, it's really cool to see more of Zan, and did go down in the series, but went all the way to the ace match. GG. GG, well played. Congratulations to Björn, as this was played on the latest patch, of course, but also played on the ladder map pool. No TLMC 21 maps. That leads us into our OSC events, for the week. Here we have the OSC Mid-Season Playoffs number 2. We do have some results coming in. Un momento. God. We have some results coming in here, and we do have... let's double check. We had some upper bracket matches. Solar versus Cure did conclude, and Solar takes on Cure 3-0. If this was, say, a couple of months ago, I would say that was a surprising result, but I just mentioned his name. Cure has been very inactive recently. Like, I would say that right now, Cure, he's not in the best of shape. He's not in the best of form, and he does fall to Solar 3-0. Big win there for Solar. Max versus Björn has still yet to conclude. Outside of that upper bracket match, we did have some lower bracket matches concluding as well. We had Trigger versus Jumi. Trigger takes on Jumi 3-0. Trigger does advance on to face off against Christiana in another PvP. We had Creator versus Spirit also did conclude. Spirit, big win. Spirit takes on Creator. Spirit has been looking very impressive recently. It was during the TLMC tournament as well, where I think Spirit came out in first place in his group. Like, he came out first in his group. It was crazy. So Spirit has been looking very in form in recent weeks, and that trend continues coming into this tournament as well. So a big win there for Spirit. Nick Rat versus Gigi Machine. Gigi Machine has also been on fire. Hey, we just spoke about how he just beat Nikita. Now here he beats Nick Rat as well. So honestly, Spirit versus Gigi Machine is going to be fire. It's going to be a spicy matchup. Best of luck to the two of them as they face off in that lower bracket. Up next, we had a Skillus. We had Nikita going up against Sebestis. Skillus does take down Sebestis 3-0. He's up against Goblin in the next round. That leads into Hearthstone. A lot of PvPs down there in the lower brackets, but the bracket is progressing, and we are slowly advancing through. It's still going to take a couple of weeks, if not over a month, to conclude this tournament, but you can see that we're getting through it. Like, the results are coming in, and the bracket is progressing. Really nice matches ahead of us here. I look forward to seeing Spirit versus Gigi Machine. I look forward to seeing Max Pax versus Beyond as well. I do look forward to it, and I hope that Cure is able to recover and able to get back into shape and back into form by the time his next series arrive. Bearing in mind that he's still in the tournament, he's just in the lower bracket, right? He's in the lower bracket, so still has some time until his next matches do arrive. Up next, we have the OSC King of the Hill. OSC King of the Hill number 227. There's actually a King of the Hill that's happening like right now, I think. So King of the Hills, there are weekly tournaments.
This one is last week's, but there will be one happening right after PondCast this.
Yes. So one happening either right now or in 40 minutes, around 40 minutes time. Here we had Percival versus Bjorn. Big win for Percival. He takes down Bjorn 1-0. Big win for Percival. I mean, best of one, so it doesn't mean as much, but a nice win nonetheless. Nick Rack takes down Percival 1-0. Speaking of, geez, a short-lived win there for Percival as Nick Rack knocks him down. Triple. I believe this is Triple's first appearance. He is a regular in Open Cups, but I don't think we've seen him in a King of the Hill before. So really cool to see the debut of Triple. Unfortunately, goes down early, but a debut nonetheless. Nick Rack brings him down, gets 2 wins in a row, then he gets knocked down by Solar. Solar, he pops off, takes down Nick Rack, and we expect, Solar, he's one of those players that we expect to go on a deep run, right? To go on a deep run and to go on a tear and to go for like a 15-game win streak. He gets 1 win, and then Sebestos. What happened in that game? Sebestos, he takes down Solar immediately. Very nice win here from Sebestos. GG, well played. It takes down Solar. Sebestos also short-lived. It's one of those weeks here where we have some short-lived win streaks. Just 1 game here and there, maybe 2 from Nick Rack. Geralt takes down Sebestos, and then Spirit goes to town. And this validates what we said earlier. We spoke about how Spirit, he's been looking very strong recently. He just took down Creator in the OSC midseason playoffs. But again, Spirit, he came out in first place in that TLMC tournament. Like, Spirit has been looking insane. I know what it is. I know why. Post EWC, suddenly he's practicing, suddenly he's improving, suddenly he's looking very, very in form. And here he pops off, takes on Geralt, takes on Lelix, Hatsu, Cristiano, Thermal. Ooh, Thermal also competed. Let's go. Takes down Mixu, Jumi, Art, and he does eventually fall to Geralt in the rematch. Looks like Geralt, he was revived at the very end of the broadcast, revived to bring down his countrymen, to bring down Piotr. GG, nice kind of redemption arc there for Geralt. He took down Sebestos, he took down Spirit. Not the biggest win streaks for Geralt, but he does stop the win streak from continuing for Spirit. GG well played. Again, we have seen players like Geralt and Cristiano take it to Spirit before, which is why it was crazy to see Spirit just bring them both down and just keep on going, but it's eventually stopped by Geralt. Congratulations here. And again, the next OSC King of the Hill is beginning in another half hour. As that leads us into the Open Cups. Oh boy, that leads us into our Open Tournaments. The first thing is first, we do have the Wardy TV Monday. Wardy TV Monday number 50. Number 56. Here we have our initial weekly tournaments. Here we do have a lot of TVPs. Let's go, Bobby. Let's go. Feel Zerg, man. Feel Zerg. We had Triple, but I'm pretty sure Triple is a Protoss player, by the way. I don't know why he's listed as Zerg. Maybe he off-races Zerg. It's possible, but from my understanding, he is a Protoss. So we do have Max. Max does take down Tasia 2-0, takes down Nick Rack 2-0.
I just remembered I can compute Triple did off-race as Zerg in this tournament to be the only Zerg player in the tournament. Yes.
Cool. There you go. We have confirmation. Max takes down Nick Rack, and Max falls to Bjorn. A crazy upset there, and I would call that an upset. Max is typically favored to make it to the finals or to actually be brought down by someone like a Clem or Hero or a Classic, but no, this week Bjorn does bring him down. Impressive play there by Bjorn. Bjorn has been improving his own TVP quite a bit. As you can imagine, I guess now is the time to talk about the matchups a little bit. But TVP has been in flux as of late just because of the latest patch, right? The latest patch has impacted TVP quite heavily, and Bjorn has been finding himself. Like, he has been struggling in the early days and early weeks of the patch, and in more recent times, he has been more aggressive and more assertive. Still not going for all-ins, but has been going for certain timing attacks, and specifically did do so against Max Packs. And he was able to cripple and break Max Packs early on. Really decisive play there by Bjorn in that Max Pack series. Very well done. Meanwhile, scrolling down, we have Clem. Clem also not an easy road to the finals. He takes down Classic 2-1, takes down Hero 2-1, and does claim the win against Bjorn in the finals. Again, Clem has also been working and improving his TVP. Does drop a map to Classic and Hero, but brings them both down. And I'm sure he was expecting to see Max Packs in the finals. That would have been the trifecta. Those are the three best Protoss players in the world is Classic, Hero, and Max Packs. And Clem gets 2 out of 3, and he plays Protoss in the finals to bring down Bjorn. GG. Of course, Clem, for those who don't know, he does avoid TVT. He has done so for the past year. He does not play TVT. He plays PVT instead. And with that, does take down Bjorn. It does claim the win. Is this week's Wardy TV champion. Congratulations. Congratulations here to Clem. Heading on over, that leads us into the Sparkling Tunic Cup, the STC Tunic Cup number 110, TLMC 21 edition. As you mentioned during the MSO coverage, here, as we mentioned, we have been doing the best we can to host as many TLMC 21 maps as possible. Here we had Andromeda, Celestial Enclave, Missing You Today, Mothership, Risen Memory, Taito Citadel, Talisman, White Rabbit, and Winter Madness. We did feature a full set of TLMC 21 maps, and we had a crazy tournament. Kura can maybe correctly, this might have been like the biggest like turnout and like the most stacked bracket we've had. Like we had Hero, Mixu, Ryung, Skillus, Bjorn, G Machine, Solar, Christiana, alongside many others. Like we had a crazy lineup.
Definitely one of the most stacked brackets of STC. Yes.
Yeah. One of the most stacked brackets, just period. It was crazy. We're missing some players. Like we've had like Showtime, we've had like Shin, but like the quantity of the high caliber players here was insane. We were spoiled for choice. I remember we got to the quarterfinals, and I was like, I want to cast everything. Like, I want to cover it all. So really sick matches, really cool series. Here we did have a Hero taking down Skillus 2-1 to make it to the grand finals, took down Mixu as well, and as you can see in the finals, Bjorn was a competitor. May seem a little bit awkward because Sola took down Christiana initially 2-0, Solo took down Bjorn 2-1. Sola did not make it to the finals. Unfortunately, Sola had no time. Sola, he was unavailable. It looks like there was something else that was taking up his schedule, something else that was coming up, so he wasn't available to compete in the finals. As a result, Sola did forfeit. He forfeited, and Bjorn did take his place in the grand finals instead. And it was still an amazing finals. Hero and Bjorn went all the way to the ace match. It was a very intense, very chaotic, very aggressive finals. Hero did win it in the end. He was favored to win it, but that was not an easy series. That was not an easy tournament. GG, well played. Hero takes on Bjorn 3-2 to become this week's Tuna Cup champion. GG, well played. That leads us into the Monday Night Weeklies. Monday Night Weekly number 27. Also, TLMC 21 edition. Here we have 10,000 Feeds, Andromeda, Celestial Enclave, Mothership, Old Republic, Satellite Years, Taito Citadel, Throne of Dunes, and Winter Madness. My one criticism, of course, we finally got a TLMC edition of the Monday Night Weekly after voting concluded. Voting was open and voting was available, and we ran our tournaments for a month. Finally, they start running the tournaments on these maps after it's too late, like after the voting is already done. So for Funada TKL, Funada the other organizers, shaking my head. But coming into this, we do have Clem. Clem takes down Inexorable, takes down Percival, takes down Cure. Oh, really cool to see Cure again, though. Really cool to see. We did take note of him earlier, playing in the OSC tournament. And Cure took down Bjorn. I mean, I would say that Cure has stronger TVT than Bjorn for sure. So no surprises there. But Clem does take down Cure 2-1. Clem takes down a Hero 2-0. Clean series there out of Clem. Very nice. But he does fall in the grand finals. What did happen? What was the road there? Hero initially took down MaxPax, took him down 2-1, but MaxPax got his revenge 1-0. Best of ones. Oof, a brutal format down there in the lower bracket. Pure best of ones. MaxPax eliminates Hero in that best of one, and MaxPax, he wins twice against Clem. 3-2 in the initial best of 5, and 2-1 in the follow-up best of 3. So GG well played. Impressive performance, impressive comeback out of MaxPax. GG well played, as MaxPax does claim the win here. Does actually face off against Clem this time, as he was denied that in the Wardy TV Monday. That leads us into the Picasso Cup number 54. Here we did have another bit of a rematch. I mean, no surprises here when it comes to the two finalists, but shout out to Solar. Clem takes down Nickrak 2-1. Clem takes on Solar 3-1, as he's a best of 5s in the semifinals. Solar eliminated Bjorn to make it to the semis. Very impressive. Likewise, Hero, he took down Shameless. Cure took down Percival. Hero takes down Cure. Once again, this week specifically, Cure has been back. Cure, he played in the Monday Night Weekly. He played in this tournament, and he played in the OC tournament. Finally, Cure looks like maybe his break is over. Maybe his break has concluded, and maybe he's back into competing on a regular basis. But Hero, he does make it to the finals against Clem, and Clem barely does clutch it out 3-2. Very back and forth series between Clem and Hero. Went all the way to the ace match, and Clem barely does claim the win. This was yesterday morning, if not today, this morning. So yes, this was yesterday morning. Unfortunately, we were going to be covering this ourselves, but we unfortunately didn't quite have the time to do so. Again, my sleep schedule has been struggling a lot. Even today, I slept 3 hours before casting, so I just haven't been getting a lot of sleep. I just didn't have the time or the energy to cover this event. We may be covering this via replays at a later date if we have the free time to do so. But we were announcing the Crank event earlier, and that is going to be taking up the entire week, so we don't really have much time to cover this. We'll do our best. We'll see. Do our best. Might have a catch-up stream maybe like in 2 weeks' time or something. But congratulations to Clem. Congratulations does take down Hero in the finals. That leads us over into the Turtle Tussle, the return. The return here, the Tenacious Turtle Tussle. This is, of course, our bi-weekly tournament every 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks we do host this event on a regular basis. And here we did have a TVT finals instead. Björn takes down Replicant 2-0. He takes down Young Yakov 2-1. We were giving praise to Young Yakov earlier, and here he even took a map and almost took the series off of Björn. Had a very intense back and forth against the Korean Terran player. Percival takes down Shameless 2-1 as well. Likewise, Shameless also bringing down Percival as well. So both Shameless and Young Yakov, they did both pose their own threats to Björn and Percival, but that led into the TVT finals where Björn was the much more dominant force. I will say that game three was really close. Like game 3 was, I would say, kind of the closest, the best game between the two of them. Was a little more intense, a little more back and forth. Game 1 and game 2 a little bit more one-sided in favor of Björn. But with that, GG well played. Björn does claim the win 3-0 to be this week's Turtle Tussle champion. GG well played. Congratulations to Björn for claiming that win. Now, when it comes to this event's map pool, I don't know if you noticed, we have a bit of a combined map pool here. We did have regular maps, but alongside them, we had regular maps alongside some TLMC maps mixed in as well. Only 4. We have 10,000 feet, Celestial Enclave, Magnetic North, and Mothership. These 4 maps are replacing Ley Lines, Ultra Love, Lost Fantasy, and Maganatha. So we have replaced 4 maps with TLMC 21 maps instead. So not a full map pool, but more of like a combination map pool. The reason why it's not full is because voting is concluded, so it's a little bit less important to showcase that. And also the reason why we only have 4 is so that we are eligible to be a part of OSC to provide OSC points. So our tournaments where we're now back kind of partnered with OSC providing points, now providing only 4 TLMC maps. Just as a heads up here. Otherwise, with that, congratulations to Björn, of course, for claiming that win. And that leads us into the next big event that happened this week, of course, which was the SC2 Safe House. Here we go. The StarCraft 2 Safe House was this week. This was the big event happening in the Americas, the big event happening in Vegas, of course. Basically, this is the NA version of Home Story Cup, kind of. At least that's the hope of what it becomes. We had a plethora of NA talents going to the event itself, renting an Airbnb over in Vegas. We had Zombergub, we had Chicken Man, Fear Dragon, State, Steadfast, and the Zerg Girl. They all did come together, rented an Airbnb in Vegas to host and to organize the event. The games themselves are played online, bear that in mind. Right now, the funds aren't really there to fly players over, but the hope is to grow this event to be able to afford funding those player flights. Bearing in mind, of course, that these games, that this event is funded by the people for the people. There's a big Matcherino page as well to help fund and support the event. This is the second year running for SC2 Safe House. We already had year 1 last year. We were also the B stream for that event. Here we're the B stream for this event as well. And again, it was honestly really sick games, really fun series, really fun matches. We had Special, Juanito, Cham, Trigger, Estrella, Master, Dolan, Eggs, and Foxer all competing in the round robin group stage. And surprisingly, Estrella barely made it through the groups. I say surprisingly. Something about this group stage to bear in mind, of course, is that Astray, he is out of practice. He's a little bit rough around the edges, and he was definitely finding himself here. He was definitely struggling a little bit more in the group stage. Juanito, Special, and Chem, they had some surprising results, some dominant performances in those groups that did pop off. And what I will say, even though Estrella struggled in the group stage, he redeemed himself in the playoff bracket. He takes down Special 4-0, and he takes down Trigger 5-4 in the grand finals. An amazing finals, went all the way to game 9. Best of 9 finals was crazy. Very long series, very long matches, went all the way to the ace match, and Estrella barely did clutch it out over Trigger. GG. GG, well played. Estrella is the SE2 Safe House champion. I believe they did host an interview with Estrella live on the main stream. I believe they did do that at the main event. And really cool to see Estrella winning his first Safe House, bearing in mind that Estrella went down to Trigger in the previous event, and Trigger was the reigning champion, but not this time. Trigger, he did make it to the finals, but did barely fall to Estrella. So very impressive play there by Estrella. Really nice redemption arc for him as well after a bit of a lackluster performance in those groups. So maybe just needed a day to warm up. Maybe just a day. So congratulations. And again, if you want to help support NA StarCraft, I do definitely recommend checking out the Match Arena page and supporting where you can. Again, the hope is to eventually grow this event. I will say that they have a lot of catching up to do, unfortunately, right? Like Home Story Cup, how many years have they been running, right? Like it's been so many years of growth, of support of Home Story Cup. They have that advantage. SSU Safe House, unfortunately, starting quite late to the party here. Unfortunately, there was never like an earlier initiative to host an event like this in the Americas before. I would say the closest we had was Cheesedelphia, of course, but they also were a little bit more independent and they didn't have as much star power there in years past. Here we do have all the NA casters coming together. Like I would love to see like Cheesedelphia with this lineup, with Chicken Man, Fear Dragon, State, Steadfast, Omega, Zergo. Like that's what I would want out of Cheese, and out of soon to be SE for all. But you know, unfortunately, you know, they're having their own endeavors, they're making their own projects, and yeah, I do hope they're able to grow, they're able to foster the scene, the community, and make more of NA StarCraft. This is something that we've needed for a long time, and better late than never, right? Better late than ever for NA StarCraft. GG. GG, well played, and with that, congratulations to Estrella for claiming the win. That leads us into the final event to cover here. That leads us into the Wardy TV October 2025. Oh boy, that leads us into a bit of a more monthly seasonal event. Up first, we have the qualifiers. Up first, we have the qualifier number 1. Here we did have the top 4 making it to the main event. Here we had Hero. Hero does take down Rex 2-0, takes down Christiana 2-0, and makes it to the semis. And I believe the semis are all you need to qualify for the event. He takes down Nightmare and does fall to Solar. Nightmare took down Gumiho. Hey, great to see Gumiho once again. I glossed over it earlier. Tasia did compete in the Wardy TV Monday. He's played in our tournaments as well. He plays in this tournament. Tasia initially was only playing in SC Evo, but a couple of months ago started playing in StarCraft 2 tournaments. So really cool to see Tasia competing in StarCraft 2. Still kind of growing, still finding his footing, still kind of in the middle or if not lower end of the Korean scene, but really cool to see him competing nonetheless. Gumio and Nightmare, they pop off, but Nightmare does bring him down barely to make it and to qualify for the event. Likewise, we'll be joined by Solar and Beyond as well. So we have a Hero, Nightmare, Solar, and Beyond making it through the first qualifier. Second qualifier did hits, and hold on. But we have Solar also competing in the second qualifier, takes down Ryang 2-0, takes down Beyond 2-0. Ryang qualifies, Beyond qualifies, so does Young Yakov. Young Yakov beats Trigger. Big win there for Young Yakov. Very impressive. Takes down Shameless and Trigger. Takes a map off of Beyond again, but does fall to him. And we have our top 4, Solar, Beyond, Ryang, and Young Yakov. Huh. Interesting. So it's kind of weird how they made this. Quickly checking the overall lineups here. So from qualifier 1, we had Hero, Nightmare, Beyond, and Solar. Beyond and Solar, they played in the second qualifier as well. Looks like they were just allowed to. So they won that prize money. But they didn't qualify. But they didn't give those slots to the other players though. So qualifier 2 only gave two people two slots, Ryung and Yang Yakov, and then that just meant there were more invites. It's kind of weird. It's kind of weird that they didn't just that they didn't just exclude Solar and Beyond from competing in qualifier 2. So a little bit odd in that respect, but yeah, with that, GG. I guess only 2 players made it through the second qualifier, and then we had 10 invited players. 16 in total. So who was invited? So when it comes to the overall lineups here, we have Geralt, Christiana, Mana, Shameless, Hero, Nightmare. Interesting. A decent solid lineup of Protoss. We have Kior, Gumiho, Nickrat, Spirit, alongside Byan and Ryung. I do appreciate that that Gumiho was invited. He was competing. He almost made it. So I do think he's deserving to be a part of this event as well. Really cool to see Spirit again. Spirit has been on fire as of late, of course. When it comes to Zerg, we had 2 invites. We had Mixu and Rogue. Interesting lineups here just because we have the Korean heavy hitters, right? We have Hero, Cure, we have Byan, we have Solar, we have Rogue as well. When it comes to the invites, it might just be scheduling, but I'm a little bit surprised that Clem wasn't invited. There's no Clem, there's no Max Packs, there's no Showtime. So because of that, yeah, there's not the European presence here isn't as strong. I would say maybe the strongest European player here is Spirit. I think I would go that far as to say that. Otherwise, this looks like a very Korean heavy tournament. Very Korean heavy. So just a little bit odd when it comes to the invites, but maybe the scheduling wasn't really lining up for Clem and Max Packs. Or maybe intentionally Morty wanted to not cast more Clem and Max Packs because we cast them all the time. It's possible. It's possible. Like, it came down to Wardy's discretion. It's possible that it's intentional that Clem and Max Packs aren't here. But here we go. That leads us into the group stage. We have Group A. We have Hero, Ryung, Gumiho, and Nightmare. Ooh, okay. That's going to be in 24 hours' time. Coming into Group A, I'm going to be leaning towards Hero and Nightmare. I'm going to be leaning towards the 2 Protoss players here. I mean, Gumiho did take Nightmare to the ace match, but still did fall. So I can see Gumiho beating Nightmare, but based on recent records, I would give the edge to Nightmare. Best of luck regardless for our 4 players. Again, leaning more towards Hero and Nightmare. Group B, we have a Spirit, Rogue, Christiana, and Cure. I mentioned earlier I was hyping up Spirits. I'm still on that Spirit, on that Piotr hype train, so I'm gonna lean towards Spirit here. Maybe Spirit, and I have a hard time placing Cure. If you recall, I spoke about how up until this week, Cure's been MIA. Like, Cure, he hasn't been playing in many tournaments. That has recently changed. Is that enough to have faith in Cure over Rogue? Is it Spirit and Rogue or Spirit and Cure? I'm gonna lean towards Spirit and I'll go for the double Terran. I'll go Spirit and Cure. Spirit and Cure. We'll see. We'll see. Best of luck. I can definitely see Rogue making it through as well. Best of luck to Christiana, of course. It's going to be a really tough group to get through. Group C, we have Shameless, Yang Yakov, Solar, and Mana. Ooh, we have a big European lineup here. Leaning towards Solar and who? This is a hard one to call. Shameless is obviously on the rise. Yang Yakov recently performing really, really well. Mana, also, you can never count him out. I can see any combination of the 3 making it through. I would say that Solo's the only sure thing, and alongside him, I want to say maybe Yang Yakov. I want to say that Yang Yakov's performances recently, he just 2-0'd Shameless, right? It's like Yakov has been looking really good. So I'll lean towards Solar and Yakov, but I can see Mana and Shameless, of course, making it through as well. Group D, we have Byan, Mixu, Geralt, and Nickrat. Oh boy. I feel like this is going to be a fight for second place. Like, Byan coming in as the heavy favorite. Second place between, in my mind, Geralt and Nickrat. I mean, Mixu has been more active recently, and best of luck to Mixu, but in my mind, Geralt and Nickrat are a little bit in better shape and a little bit in better form. Who do I favor out of the 2 of them? I mean, they're both very different players. Geralt, he often plays towards the mid to late game. Nickrat is often very decisive and very aggressive. I might lean towards Byan and Nickrat because of that, but I can also see Geralt and Byan making it through instead. Yeah, hard to call. I'll lock in the double Terran. I'll lock in Byan and Nickrat. But again, I can easily see Geralt making it through instead of Nickrat. But yeah, really fun group stage. By the time we get the next podcast, this tournament would have wrapped up. It would have wrapped up by then, so next time you see us, we'll be going over the results of this tournament. We'll be seeing the predictions as well, see who makes it through, we'll see who doesn't make it through. So best of luck to all the competitors here. Again, it is going to be the round-robin group stage leading into the playoff brackets, all taking place over the next week. I should emphasize the next week is going to be the group stage. By the time we get into the next PondCast, we might have the playoff bracket ready for us to discuss, as that will be taking place after the week. So really cool to see Wardy hosting this event. Again, this is a little bit more sporadic. I don't think this is a monthly event, but every now and then it does host these events whenever there's like the room for it, whenever there's time for it. For example, the last time there was an event like this was in February, where we had the Wardy February 2025. So again, a little bit more sporadic here, but with that, really wish him the best. Wish him all the best of luck when it comes to the tournament itself. And again, it feels like a more Korean-heavy tournament. In my mind, at least, best luck to Spirit to see some more like European or some more foreigner representation. Here we go. But otherwise with that, so that is going to be us wrapping up the events for the week. Again, if you want to take part in some of these tournaments, then check out the sign-up list, !sign-up list in the chat. We do have a link here to a page that does actually provide sign-ups for all these tournaments. You can see here, we have the Platinum StarCraft League October edition. That's going to be in just over 24 hours. We have the RSL qualifiers. True, didn't get to talk about that, but the RSL qualifiers are this weekend. We'll be doing our best to cover them as best we can. So we have the qualifiers this weekend. We have the Amateur League weeklies. We have the Open Cups like the World TV Monday Night Weekly, Tunic Cup, Pigastar Cup, and of course we have the SC for All in just over a week's time. So there's plenty of StarCraft on the horizon here, and you can take part in it by using the sign-up list. It does condense all these tournaments and does allow you to go to each sign up for each tournament at a more convenient place. And again, shout out to Kashim, shout out to Kuro for organizing and for updating this event this page on a regular basis. Big shout out. Big shout out to Kuro. Big shout out to Kashim. Big shout out to the contributors here to this page. Likewise, if you want to support us here on the CranKy Ducklings, you can do so via Patreon. Our Patreon has been growing quite a lot this year, so thank you so much to all the supporters on Patreon. The Patreon does fund our tournaments. It doesn't fund the Turtle Tussle, though. It funds the Tunic Cup, the Duckling Open, the Master Swan Open as well. It funds our regular tournaments. The Turtle Tussle is separate. It is funded by a very passionate StarCraft fan. So big shout out to Mark BT. He does sponsor, does fund the event. It is not kind of boosted by the Patreon. The Patreon funds the other tournaments, I should emphasize. So if you want to help us grow, if you want to help us grow our tournaments, grow the prize pool, and eventually host monthlies for the Tunic Cup on a regular basis next year, then you can help us out via Patreon. You can help us out. So thank you so much to all the current patrons that we have. We've grown our tournaments so much this year specifically. Thank you so much, and hoping to grow it even further coming into 2026. Thank you, Papi. Thank you. Thank you so much. Otherwise, when it comes to the schedule, when it comes to our next broadcast here, the next cast is going to be the Platinum StarCraft League tournament. That is going to be tomorrow evening. It's going to be at 3 a.m. AEST. That'll be at around 1 a.m. KST. Oh boy, so in just over 24 hours, it's going to be a very late cast. I'll do my best. I'll do my best to be awake and be alert for it. Because it's so late, that's why I'm tentative about the RSL qualifiers. Depending on how much sleep we get, we'll be able to cover it or not. So a little bit tentative on the RSL qualifiers. We'll see. We shall see. But otherwise, thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Again, this week we have the RSL qualifiers. We have the CranKy Team League Chijik events on the horizon as well. And of course, all of your regular scheduled Open Cups. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks so much for tuning in. A big shout out to Kuro, of course, for handling the production side of things. Big shout out to Kuro. And otherwise, thanks so much. And we'll see you guys next time. Until then, ciao, papi ciao. See you next time. Hasta luego.